What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. We got another Huskies game tomorrow afternoon, and it's time to hit a little preview. Although, once again, I will say, kind of hard to preview a game like this. These first few games are going to be kind of difficult to really talk about because, once again, we are talking about a game where the Washington Huskies cannot prove very much, except for them potentially being fraudulent. So, tomorrow afternoon, 12:30, the Eastern Michigan Eagles will be heading into town to play Washington in Washington. And this is another, maybe not quite to the extent of last week, but still, this is supposed to be a cupcake. So you look at the spread, you look at the betting odds. Washington's supposed to win this game by 4 scores. They're supposed to run away with this game. So, well, like last week, like I said last week, if you win, then, good for you. It it's not really much of an accomplishment. It's a win in the record, and it's that's really about it. And if you win big, then okay, you did your job, but you're supposed to win big against the Eastern Michigan Eagles. And if you lose, then oh boy, you're fraudulent. You're super fraudulent. And I said it last week, I'll say it again. I've been through this. Lost to Montana, what was it, Montana or Montana State? A few years ago. So hoping that doesn't happen again. But because of that, how can you really talk about a game like this when you know you can't really prove anything? You could win this game by 63 points, and I don't think people would really start paying attention. Like, I don't think people would suddenly start thinking, oh, this Huskies team is a playoff contender. So, before I get into talking about what can be talked about in this game, I want to reiterate that I will be streaming this game live on here. Stream should go live right around 12:30. I'll be watching the game, doing play-by-play commentary, and people can come by in the chat. We can talk about whatever, mostly the game, but we can talk about pretty much whatever is going on in the sports world and even outside of sports, I guess. So come on by, we'll have some fun. Stream should go about 3.5 hours, maybe 4. Hopefully we don't have overtime or anything like that because that would probably indicate disaster, but we're gonna have a good stream and hopefully see the Huskies go to 2-0. So keep an eye out for that stream. It should be posted, scheduled for tomorrow at 12:30. And we'll just hope these Huskies can continue motoring on. So, Eastern Michigan, they seem like they might be a little more balanced than they were last year. I guess I can say that, right? They played one game against Massachusetts, so I don't want to go crazy with this, right? But Eastern Michigan did play pretty well in that first game. They actually had a legitimate passing attack, which they didn't really have last year. I think last year they averaged I think it was less than 150 passing yards a game. They had a pretty anemic offense in general. I think they averaged about 19 points a game. This year they got a new quarterback. I think they got a new running back. So things looked a little bit better in that first game, but we won't be feeling that way if they go out and score like 3 points tomorrow. So it's going to take more than just one game to prove it, but they do seem to have a little bit more of a legitimate quarterback this year in Schneider. Last year, like I said, their passing game was basically just like physically present without actually being any kind of a real threat. They did make a bowl game last year. They were not a terrible team, but a lot of their losses were really ugly, and their bowl game loss was very ugly. So we're not talking about a great team here. They didn't have much of a pass rush last year. I know that. This year they actually got off to a great start in that regard. They had like 6 sacks in the opener, but this is another team that doesn't really match up to you, right? So you're looking at Washington and you're thinking, okay, let's think about last week. What happened last week? We had a couple drives where we would get behind the sticks and not be able to recover. We'd get into 3rd and long, 2nd and long, not be able to recover from that because this team isn't really built to do it. So we need to execute the offense that we have at an extremely high level to make up for that, because we don't have the ability to make up 3rd and 12. We don't have the ability to just suddenly push the ball down the field 50 yards into a tight window. So the offense that we do have, predicated on the short and intermediate passes, needs to be very precise, and I want to see that precision cranked up this week. It was obviously good last week. Will Rogers played a good game, not taking anything away from that, but we need to see that offense tighten up in a game like this if we're going to have any chance against the better teams we play later this year. I want to see the offensive line make some real improvements. The first week was mixed. I wasn't crazy about a lot of the things I saw. Tackles getting beat, some running plays just getting killed in the backfield. Didn't feel like we won the line of scrimmage very consistently against a very weak opponent. So this week, let's try to win that line of scrimmage. And of course, can Jonah Coleman continue to be the motor of this year's offense? So pretty enthused about that. Of course, everyone loves Jonah Coleman right now. And he's got all the skills. He's got all the ability. This could be another game where we just kind of put it on his back and tell him, carry us to where we're going to get carried. So, going to be fun to watch that. As long as the offensive line can clean it up a little bit, I think he should be able to just kind of run over this Eastern Michigan team and take it home. And on defense, I'd like to see some turnovers, because that was kind of missing last week, right? Let's get some turnovers. We've got a big matchup advantage in this game. Eastern Michigan is probably going to turn to the air if they get behind early. So if the offense can build up an early lead, force Eastern Michigan into more of a drop-back offense, let's see if that new quarterback is actually any good or not. Let's see if he can actually sling the rock and keep up with a prolific offense like Washington. Well, relatively speaking, right? I don't know if Washington will have a prolific offense this year, honestly. So, pretty simple stuff here. Just control the ball, try to win the turnover battle. Let's see that line of scrimmage battle even out a little bit. I'm not expecting the defense to be able to win the line of scrimmage a lot this year, but let's start doing it against a team like Eastern Michigan. There were a couple plays last week that were downright embarrassing. Let's see if we can improve a little bit there. I'm not asking for a lot. I know that we're going to play some teams like Oregon and Michigan that are going to drive us off the line of scrimmage, because their offensive lines are much better than our defensive lines. But let's try to at least win the battle against Eastern Michigan. Come on. Okay. So, that's really all I can say. The test is not here yet. This isn't even really a little test. Like, I mean, this is, I can't even call this like any kind of a litmus test for this team. This is just another game where you go out there, you do what you need to do, and you win by 20 plus. And if you don't, then something's not right. And hopefully you win anyway, so you at least have the opportunity to fix it without completely embarrassing yourself. But yeah, we're not even going to talk about the possibility of losing this game. I don't want to think about that. But I'd love to see another game where the backup quarterback gets in, where Demond gets in. Would love to see that. Love to give him an opportunity to show what he can do, because before long he will be the quarterback here. And there's immense potential there. But yeah, that's what I got. See you guys tomorrow. Gonna be a fun stream. Bow down to Washington. Let's get to 2-0. Let's build up those early season wins that we're going to need to make a bowl game this year, because that later part of the schedule hits hard, and I don't know if we have what it takes this year.